Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to the Sports Frenzy podcast. I'm Phil Pinarski, joined once again by our News 8 correspondents, Dean Holzwarth and Andy McDonald. We've got a lot to talk about, guys. Not only the fact that the Whitecaps are still in the midst of an incredible, historic season. The playoffs are going to begin for them later on this week. We'll talk about that, get you ready for that first series against the Lake County Captains. And, of course, we have to talk about lots and lots of football here in Michigan, and that's where we're going to begin talking about the Detroit Lions, who unfortunately took the L in Week 1 against the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau Field, losing 27-13. I want to jump straight into this because obviously a lot of mixed emotions going around the Detroit Lions fan base right now. We said way back before the preseason even started that it was going to be difficult for the Lions trying to replace Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, who are now both head coaches in the NFL. But I mean, did you guys really see it being this difficult, especially on the offensive side of the ball for the Lions going into that first game? A lot of talk about the kind of weapons, wanting to make up for last year. But again, they just looked really, really flat in that first game.
Yeah. I'm not going to overreact to this. Okay. Obviously, it was disappointing that they came out and played the way that they did. Like you said, they were really flat. They didn't go downfield. Offensively, the offensive line struggled. Packers picked them apart defensively, especially on that first drive. So, I mean, there's some cause for concern, but I'm just not going to overreact right now. Like, was it frustrating? I watched that whole game and was super frustrated at different times. Yes. Packers came out with lots of energy. Packers are a good team, right? So I'm just, you didn't lose to a lower tier team in the NFL. You lost to the Packers, and the Packers are good offensively and defensively. Jordan Love's solid. They have some good wide receivers. So like I said, the lone bright spot obviously was Isaac Tesla's catch, and I was happy for him. That was pretty awesome to see. But other than that, there wasn't much to be happy about Sunday night.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. And I also don't want to overreact either. I think that when you look at this game, it really just it felt like Green Bay was there more to play than the Lions were the entire time. Just like the Lions were a lot less prepared, which we're not used to seeing under Dan Campbell. We're used to seeing a team that comes out fired up and wants to be the team that's kind of the world beaters and takes the game by their hands. And instead, I felt like Green Bay kind of had it in their control the whole time. And the one thing I said, I don't want to overreact, but the one thing that definitely I think it does raise concern seeing a game like this in general. Ben Johnson was their offensive coordinator for 55 games. There's only one time where they scored less than 7 points in the first half under him. So only having 3 and then struggling as much as they did in the second half, I do think it's a big deal. Their offense looked a lot more vanilla than it did under Ben Johnson. I don't think there was I don't know what the exact percentage was of pre-snap motion, but it was not good. There was 33 dropbacks in the game, I think, that Goff had, 36, whatever it was. There was 25 pressures. So the offensive line definitely was not, getting the job done. There's a lot of concern about Glasgow this week that people are talking about. Ratledge didn't look like he was ready. I mean, I'm going to give Sewell a little bit of a break going against Parson a couple of those times. Right. Like, he won a lot of those battles, too. He's going to lose some, too. That's why they're both so good. But, I don't think, all the overreaction about Micah Parsons being, this big deal coming in this game, I don't really think he was the difference. I just think what Green Bay was able to do on offense with controlling the game and kind of coming in and asserting their will, Jordan Love looking a lot better than he did at really any point last season. Maybe he's back on a better route. I just think that Green Bay looked like a team that was, ready coming in the season more than the Lions. But I think the one thing that's a little reassuring if you're a Lions fan right now going into this is if you listen to the players all week and all the post-game stuff, they don't sound like it's the end of the world. They sound like that this is just a bad game. I think Alex Anzalone said that whoever was saying that, this is are we bad now, basically? That's crazy just because of what they've done in the past. So I couldn't agree with that more. I think that you got to give them more time, but I do think this game now, week 2, definitely means a lot more. That's for sure.
Yeah. Right. No, and obviously we don't want to sound all the alarms and sirens, but what we saw on Sunday, I mean, that just did not look good, honestly. I think there are definitely some worries and, causes for concern, but I think that does beg the question, and Andy, you kind of alluded to it, going into week 2, still only the second week of the season, you're playing another division rival in the Chicago Bears. Is week 2 a must-win? Is this a must-win game? And if it is, I mean, what does that have to say for the season if we're already in win-now mode with the Detroit Lions?
I don't ever like to call anything a must-win game, especially this early in the season, but it feels like they do need to win it.
Right.
Because if you go down 0-2 and already lose 2 games in your division, you're setting yourself back quite a bit. Obviously, seasons evolve, teams change, and my prediction with them kind of the whole time is that they were going to start slow and end up getting the wild card and getting in that one. I still believe that's what's going to happen. This game was exactly why. I just feel like that this is what they were going to look look like maybe when they came out with 2 new coordinators. That's a bigger deal than some people might realize, especially with a lot of different position players moving around and stuff like that too. But the core of this team is still there, and I think that they'll come out and be ready to play in this game against the Bears. I can't see them losing it. Obviously, Caleb Williams showed that he could do a lot on Monday night or in the first half. They struggled a lot in the second half. Ben Johnson was struggling to move the ball. I just want to bring this up to you guys really quick. I don't know if you guys get to watch the game, but that kickoff at the end when they scored the touchdown, am I dumb or should that have been kicked out of bounds? Like
it definitely should have,
because they had 2:02 left on the clock and they just kicked it into the end zone and let him take it out and burn the 2-minute warning.
Right.
So there you go. If everybody wants to call him a genius, like that was a really good decision. And
it's his first time as a head coach too. It's his first game management. Yeah,
exactly. So that stuff all matters, and it's definitely harder to be a head coach than it is a coordinator. So hopefully that the Lions coordinator John Morton, can get this offense back on track. And I do expect it to be better in this game. I think these players alone in the Lions team will be better this game, and I think they should win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to disagree with Andy a little bit. And I do think it's a must-win only because in week 3 you go to Baltimore.
Yeah.
All right, you play the Ravens.
It does not get any easier.
And if you go by history, okay, if a team starts 0-3, the chances to make the playoffs are like less than 15%, something like that. All right, so not many teams throughout the course of history have made the playoffs after going 0-3. So in that scenario, to me, it's a must-win. The Lions have to come out with more emotion. They have to, they have to get their offense jump-started a little bit, and they have to win that game because that Ben Johnson wants to beat Dan Campbell so badly, and they're going to be fired up to come into Detroit and beat Detroit on their home field.
Yeah, if what happened to them the other night doesn't make them mad, I don't know what will. So, and then if what happened to the Lions doesn't get them going, I mean, it should make for a great game. That's for sure.
Yeah, let's talk about that other game just briefly, kind of keeping it in the NFC North right now. Obviously, a pretty crazy game, especially in that fourth quarter between the Minnesota Vikings and the Chicago Bears. Chicago looked like they really did have control for a great big part of it, and J.J. McCarthy looked like he was struggling a whole lot for that Vikings offense. But again, it was like in the fourth quarter, both teams just changed uniforms. It was a completely different setup there. I mean, what did you guys really make of that game? And really, I guess now kind of seeing everybody play that first game, I mean, where do you kind of see the Lions sort of lining up in the NFC North now?
I mean, JJ did JJ things, right? Like, you're right, Phil. He struggled for the first 3 quarters. It was his first game, our first NFL game, obviously. But he stepped up and did what we saw him do at Michigan several times. So super impressed by the way that JJ McCarthy came out and played in that fourth quarter to lead them to a victory. But I said this, I think, last week. The whole division is going to be tough, right? Every single NFC North game is going to be difficult for the Lions. And so, to me, every game could go either way, right? And so, you're looking right now of the talent of the NFC North and exactly what the Lions are going to be up against every single division game.
Yeah, no, the Bears have definitely got a lot of that talent, I think, either way, and they showed it early in that game. But when you're up 17-6, first game for Ben Johnson or not, going to the fourth quarter, I think you got to close that game down and get a win. So it still shows I think they have a little bit of room to grow too before they're going to be a playoff team or great. They have a ways to go this season is what I'm trying to say before they would be able to be considered in that category. But yeah, I if you looked on X or any social media last night, I mean, you would have thought everybody was just coming down on J.J. McCarthy so hard, like saying he's got no chance. He threw that pick 6, and it was like everybody was just coming at this guy. I couldn't be more happy for somebody on Tuesday morning after the way he ended that game. Like, I've been around him enough, like with interviewing him and stuff. He's just this really, really, really positive person, and it just seems like he never lets that get away from him, no matter what. Like, he always finds a way to turn whatever is negative into a positive, and he was able to do that whole game. I mean, you throw a pick 6 like that, and there was a couple of those delay games where it looked like he just did not have control of the game at all, and it was like, oh boy, this is going to be something that's tough to rebound from. All of a sudden, 3 possessions in a row, he ends it with the touchdown, and he should. I mean, obviously, Justin Jefferson did drop that one, but you got to keep that guy happy too because he had a pretty good catch in the end zone, and he's a great receiver. So the Vikings are. Again, this is what
Andy's pick.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys. When I was like in the first half, when I was about to come in here today, I was gonna be like, oh boy, maybe I didn't make the. But what I saw in the second half, he can be Sam Darnold. So I have no doubt in my mind that this team is gonna be there towards the end, competing for the division. That's for sure.
Right, absolutely. And now let's turn it back over to the Lions a little bit, kind of going into that Week 2 matchup against the Bears. We've seen what both teams can do, and honestly, at least from my own perspective, I feel like the Bears kind of outshine outperformed the Lions, or at least looked a little bit more polished, a little bit better. You're hoping that maybe it's because they actually got some time playing in the preseason, or maybe a little bit more, I guess, game ready, I would say. But going into this game, I mean, what do you really want to see out of Detroit? Is it a more explosive offense? Is it total team domination? Is it just a win? I mean, is there anything in particular you really want to see Detroit do against Chicago this weekend?
Just a win.
Yeah.
I need to see them.
Any at all costs.
I do want to see them score points.
Yes.
But they got to score more than 20 points this game. I need to see like some kind of progress. But if you remember last year, the Lions, what was it, the first 3 or 4 games, their offense wasn't scoring more than like around 20 points. If it didn't look that great. And then all of a sudden they took off. So new corners, it just takes a second. But obviously, I mean, the Bears defense did look really, really good at points last night. So I don't think it's going to be that easy. But when you're at home, you have all this energy and you know you need to win this game. I want to see points, and I want to see the Lions just take care of business and get a win.
I want to see Aiden Hutchinson get more than I want to see him get a tackle.
Yeah.
All right. Jake Bates had more tackles than Aiden did. All right.
Yeah.
And so that's a problem for me. Like there was not you have to pressure Caleb. You watch what Minnesota did in the second half of that game, and what's the defensive coordinator? Flores.
Yeah, Brian
Flores. He ramped up the pressure and it affected Caleb. So like the Lions don't create pressure because they didn't create any pressure against the Packers, and if they don't do that, and we saw what Caleb can do with his feet. So Lions have to play better defensively and get the pressure on the quarterback.
How about Marcus Davenport? I mean, too, like on the other end, they came in the season, they were asked about the Zadarius Smith thing, who obviously signed with Philly. It's just crazy.
$9 million.
Yeah, exactly. And it's something that's like, okay, all the fans are asking for this, and everybody in the media is kind of like, is this going to happen? And all Dan Campbell had to say was, I'm good. We're good. Like, did look very good in week 1. Right. So, yeah, Dean, that's a really good point. I think the defensive ends need to figure out a way to get some more pressure in this next game to kind of back their coach's statement a little bit there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, time will tell. Again, that game is set for on Sunday, of course. Let's shift gears now to another loser from over the weekend, that being the Michigan Wolverines. We're done being positive.
There's
on
a lot of losing this weekend.
Yeah, right.
It was not a good weekend.
We're not even talking about the Tigers losing 2-3
We don't need to. Yeah, exactly. Too much football to focus on right now. Wolverines, of course, losing to the Oklahoma Sooners 24-13 in a very big game, honestly, for at least this early going in the college football season. They lost at Oklahoma, so again, hostile environment, freshman quarterback, some things do play into that. Michigan, of course, though, did not score a single point until the third quarter in that game. We all said that this was going to be the first real test for Michigan. We were going to maybe wait on diagnosing how Bryce Underwood really handled everything after this game, and this was going to be kind of the lead up to that. And not only did the Wolverines not really live up to this moment that maybe we had all kind of thought or at least had hoped for, but honestly, they fell right on their faces. I mean, just general takeaways from that first game, I guess, real test for this team.
I mean, it was a tough watch for me. Like Bryce was 9 for 24, passing. He missed some throws. I think there was a couple drops in there, but like the game plan and like I didn't like some of the plays that they were running. Right, like to me the offense just didn't click, and defensively they just gave up too much. And I think Oklahoma is a good team. I think they could potentially be a playoff team, but I think the score was closer than the game was. The game was closer than was indicated, right? Like, I think Oklahoma really controlled that game despite it being a one-score game in the fourth quarter. I just think Michigan, for whatever reason, they just didn't do enough. There wasn't a lot of pressure either on the quarterback, and then their quarterback obviously lit them up at times. So, to me, it was disappointing. I think they need to open up the playbook a little bit more. I know they want to protect Bryce, and they don't want him to get hurt because then they might be screwed. But like to me, they have to do something else offensively to kind of generate some points and generate some offense.
Yeah, for sure. I think Michigan's defense did actually look pretty good at some points. I've heard some things about some hate on them, but John Mateer is a good quarterback for Oklahoma. I mean, some people are already starting to consider him maybe for being a Heisman this year. It's early to consider all that, but I mean, he was moving out there and he was getting away from a lot of defenders and making a lot of plays, and he did a good job. But yeah, it's obviously more the offensive end for Michigan. They didn't have Marlon Klein in this game, which I do think is a big deal. That was kind of Bryce's number one target in the first game that they had against New Mexico. But yeah, I mean, this isn't, like we said last week, this isn't playing high school football anymore, and you're going out in front of a crowd like that. It's gonna take a lot to be that good, and I have no problem the kid having confidence in himself, but I think everybody needs to take a step back on this being the best freshman of all time. Like I've heard a couple times out there, it's just not he's not there yet. He's got a ways to go before I think that's going to be a thing. And just at points of this game, it looked like, I mean, they had chances in the second half. They had a bunch of chances where they got the ball off the fumble on the punt and everything else that they could have punched in some touchdowns outside of Justice Haynes' run that he had for a touchdown. They just couldn't get anything going in the red zone. They couldn't finish a drive, and he just looked like a young quarterback again. So that's it's going to take a while for them to grow, but I'm still sticking with what I thought about Michigan. I think that later in the season they are going to be a better team, and I do think Bryce is going to grow as the season moves along. So.
Yeah, no, really quickly want to go over Bryce Underwood's stat line. And again, it's just because he is this highly touted quarterback. It's 9 for 24 in that game, 142 yards passing, 3 carries, and -1 yards rushing. You guys kind of touched on it, that you think he's, still maybe some growing pains. But again, this is more so that version and not so much maybe a sign of something bigger, a bigger issue maybe for the Wolverines going throughout the rest of this season.
I don't think so. I mean, I think what that game is going to do for Bryce is a learning experience, right? Like he got to play on the road against a really good team. So I think it's just going to help him in the future here. I think he's going to be fine. Like I said before, I think they just need to open up the playbook a little bit, let Bryce do certain things that maybe he hasn't done the first couple of games, and I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Chip Lindsey, their offensive coordinator right now, needs to take the handcuffs off a little bit because he just hasn't been able to do anything back there. It feels like they're just throwing these preset screens. I mean, Oklahoma knew when it was coming after the first few possessions. They were all over it every single time. Yeah. And you can't just throw slant routes and things I know you don't want to get him hurt. And that's Sherrone Moore kind of came out this week and said he basically alluded at, he didn't actually say, but he alluded at the fact that, John Mateer running around like that, it's kind of tough to stay sustainably healthy. Okay, but they're winning the game. You got to use, if Bryce Underwood has that ability, which I think he can run, but I really don't know because they haven't done it very much. You got to let him try to do that or at least get outside the pocket and make these throws. He obviously has a very strong arm. I'm sure he has the capability of being able to do it on the run with how highly touted he's been as a freshman. If you're Chip Lindsey and Sherrone Moore, and obviously Sherrone's not going to be on the sideline the next couple of games, but you got to just open it up, especially against my school, CMU. You got to. They look good.
Yeah.
They look good against Pittsburgh. I was happy with them. I think they're going to give Michigan more than people think, to be honest, in the first half of this game at least. But because right now they're riding with a lot of confidence. They play good out there in Pittsburgh too, and they got to win week 1. But yeah, you got to let them try to throw the ball in this game. You got to throw it downfield, open up the playbook, let them roll out, let them run. It just has to happen this game. Has to.
Right. Like Andy said, they are going to be taking on the Chippewas of Central Michigan this Saturday. Michigan also dropping to 23 in the AP poll after that game. Anything in particular, specifically with the offense? I think we all can agree that the offense is the point of concern right now, especially leading into the next 2 weeks when the Wolverines are going to have to take on Nebraska and Wisconsin. I believe some of those games, if not both of them, are on the road too. So having to deal with all of that and the Sherrone Moore situation going on these next couple of weeks, I mean, what do you really want to see Bryce Underwood and this Michigan offense do? Maybe even lean a little bit more on Justice Haynes.
Score a lot of points and make this game not close. I mean, if you're Michigan,
break your heart in the process.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Michigan, that's what you want to see. Yeah. It's exactly what you want to see. You don't want to see this game be close at all. You want to put up points and have all the confidence in the world going in the next game that you can do it. Because I think that was a lot of the problem going into the Oklahoma game is Michigan kind of did let New Mexico hang around a little bit in that game, and it might have played in the fact that I like the 2-minute drill drive that Bryce had, but that was really the only time we got to see it. He was able to move the ball sometimes, but I think red zone execution will be key in this game too. You want to see some passing plays instead of just punching it in from the 1 yard line. It really doesn't mean a lot to me if Haynes gets 3 touchdowns from the 1 yard line again. I want to see some rollouts and see Bryce throwing on the run, finding the tight end, whatever it might be, just to get a little bit more action so teams have to worry about more when Michigan gets in the red zone.
Mm-hmm. Yep, same kind of thing. This isn't the Jim Harbaugh pound and ground anymore, or ground and pound anymore, right? You just, like Andy said, we have to open it up a little bit and obviously put points on the board and convert in the red zone and do those things against CMU, and we'll be fine. I
would love for one to make CMU make them sweat, though. That is for sure.
Maybe if CMU scores first, take a quick early lead and then let Michigan handle the rest after
and
that.
he's taking the points.
Yeah, take a photo of the screen after that. Yeah,
I don't know about that, but
right. Well, it's not all bad news for Michigan sports fans because, of course, we did have a winner to report on, that being the Michigan State Spartans. They won over the weekend, beating Boston College in a really fun and entertaining game. I'm sure it was a little bit closer than maybe Spartan fans would have liked, but again, a very entertaining game. They won 42-40 in double overtime. How impressed have you guys been with the Spartans through these first 2 weeks? Again, a close win against Boston College, but they are 2-0.
Yeah, I think more important than anything else, it's Aiden Childs. Like last year in this game against Boston College, they played in the road. He kind of threw the interception to lose the game. He threw 3 in that game. Didn't look developed at all, and their season kind of felt like it fell off from there. Instead, this time he was able to finish it off. Whether it took overtime or not, I mean, I have still a lot of concerns about Michigan State not being like, some team is going to go 12-0 or anything like that.
Right.
See, there's been some overreaction this week that, it seems like they're going to be maybe that much better. It's like, okay, it was Boston College at the end of the day. But I definitely feel a lot better about the 8-win projection that I came into the season with, just because this was one that I think they needed to get off the board, and I think they ride this confidence through at least the next couple of weeks now with a couple of games in front of them that are very winnable. So it's kind of crazy because it's like the opposite script from the Western game. The Western game, their defense held them in the game in the second half and kind of took over. Obviously, they allowed a little bit more points to Boston College. So it's going to be tough with Michigan State to really gauge how good they are until they get into some of their better games. But right now, all you can do is play who's in front of you. And it was definitely a big win for Jonathan Smith.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely agree. A big emotional lift, I think, just from that win, right? An exciting win, thrilling win. The only thing you have to be concerned about now is a letdown going into Youngstown State. That's the biggest thing that Michigan State has to avoid. But yeah, they found a way to get it done. And like you said, Aiden Childs threw that game-winning touchdown. And, just positive for Jonathan Smith and, Michigan State to just kind of gain that confidence going into next week.
I don't know if you guys were watching that game, but it just felt like if they lose this game, it's got to end at some point. Michigan State has to get some positivity going back in this program. I really did feel like it was one of those kind of moments for them. That's for sure.
Where I was at, State was on the side TV, so I kept glancing up at the score because I was watching the Michigan game, and so everybody was watching a Michigan game where I was at. But.
Yeah.
Well, even in just some of the photos, I mean, you just see the team in the stands with the fans, and just the energy in East Lansing is really good through these first 2 weeks. And that begs kind of the question, real quick, guys. I mean, who would you rather be right now? I know, again, still early on in the season. They haven't even played each other yet. They're still a couple of weeks away from that matchup. But, I mean, right now it looks like Michigan might be better in the long run. But right now MSU has all the momentum. I mean, who would you rather be a fan of, I guess, right now?
Well, I mean, if you were to say a fan, I'd probably say Michigan State just because they're 2-0. And, I mean, you can use that, I guess, until you die.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, it's hard to say like that. I wouldn't trust Michigan's defense at least more, I guess, in the long run. But, again, this is why I said later in the season, I think that Michigan State is going to have that 6-1 or 7-0 record going into this game, and it's going to be a lot bigger than people thought coming into the year because I do think that Aiden Childs has a lot of skill. Right now, I'd rather have Childs as my quarterback than Bryce Underwood just because he's a freshman and he hasn't shown me much yet, I guess, from that perspective. If they come out this week and blow at CMU, maybe it'll be a little bit different, and maybe it was truly just Oklahoma and the crowd and everything that got to him. But right now, it's got to be Michigan State. I mean, it has to be at this point, I guess, right now for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, I'm going to stick with being a Michigan fan. I think, obviously, we chalked that kind of Oklahoma game up as a loss anyway, right? I think all of us didn't necessarily expect them to win that game. Did we expect them to be more competitive in that game? Of course we did. But no, I'm going to stick with Michigan and, what the potential is. But, State can do, like Andy said, they can make a little run here and make things interesting and, have a great Michigan State game next month.
It's just I need to see that playbook open up like we talked about. I need to see that before I believe it because even the wins they got against Ohio State and Alabama at the end of the year last year, that was all predicated on their defense, obviously. Yeah. The 13-10 one, especially at Ohio State. So, I just got to see more out of this offense that they can do more with this coaching staff because Schromm really hasn't done a great job of that since he's been the coach there so far. So it's without J.J. McCarthy and Blake Corum and that whole crew that he had a couple of years ago to end the year when he was the interim head coach. So yeah, it's hard to say because it feels like it's kind of becoming more level, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And you don't want to have to wait for Bryce to be a senior to really reap the benefits of having him on the team and his skill set. So again, will be interesting to see how the rest of this college football season plays out. And of course, we're going to be keeping you updated here on the Sports Frenzy podcast. Real quick though, guys, but we still have some time. We've got another winner that we have to talk about, and they've been winning all season long. That being the West Michigan Whitecaps. At the time of recording this, the Whitecaps were actually over in Lake County. They're going to be taking on the Captains in the first game of the playoffs. We will be, of course, keeping you up to date on everything going on with the Whitecaps' playoff run over on our website, woodtv.com. They're slated to play their first home game at LMCU Ballpark this Thursday. That'll be game 2 of that first series. It's going to be an incredible environment, just like how it's been all season long. And then if they are, again, these are best of 3 series. So I wanted to get that kind of pointed out because I was a little confused about how these playoffs were all going to work. It's been so long since the Whitecaps are here, and I feel like now we can really start to embrace just how good this team has been this year.
Yeah, 100%. And I know you talked about the schedule a little bit. Obviously it's important for them to get that win tonight. But I mean, the advantage of having kind of that home field is even if you do lose, your next 2 games are going to be at home. So I think there's some advantage to that a little bit. But no, I think in West Michigan, we just hope that they can continue the magical season that they've had.
Right.
Franchise record, tied the franchise record for wins, everything like that. So I know some of the players aren't kind of looking too far ahead or saying, hey, it's Midwest League Championship or bust kind of thing because they've had a great season. But, it would be, great for them to kind of finish the season off, with the championship, kind of the way that, they started it with all their prospects and everything. So,
Right.
No, I mean, as the Tigers organization, you have to be so happy with what they've been able to do at this level. I mean, what was it, the best record overall in the MILB since the 96 or something like that? I can't remember exactly.
Winning percentage, I believe.
Yeah, winning
Yes.
percentage, that's what it was. Yeah, so you just have to be so happy that at this level, especially with all the different moves we talked about all year with the players they kept adding, bringing up to the Seawolves. So it's awesome to see. I feel like at this level, I mean, you get a lot of playoff experience, and that's great, but I feel like for a lot of these guys, it's just kind of go out there and play the same as they've been playing all season. Because at the end of the day, you're just getting more at bats. And I mean, I don't want to say it doesn't mean anything, because it does. When you win a championship, it means something. But to them, I'm sure they can go out there and just kind of play baseball. Maybe the first few innings are a little tough, but once you get into the game, I think that they should be able to play at this level and just kind of go out there and do what they've been doing all year.
Yeah, an interesting note too is, you look at how much the Whitecaps kind of dominated teams this year. Well, against Lake County, they were 12-12. So 12 of their, what do they have? 38, 39, whatever the losses.
They had 39 losses.
39 losses.
Yeah.
12 of those were against Lake County. So, this isn't obviously a great matchup for West Michigan, just because Lake County has seemed to have their number at, a lot of different times this year. So, it'll be interesting. I think both teams are evenly matched despite, the Whitecaps record. So, we'll see what happens.
Right. Yeah. No, we had Nate Phillips with the Whitecaps on the Daily 8 earlier this week on Monday, and he was kind enough to just talk about some of the fun things that they've got planned. Highly encourage everybody to check out that interview on our website to learn about it. Grab your tickets ahead of time. They still have a couple of tickets left for that first home playoff game in quite some time. Want to quickly just go over just a couple of things, housekeeping notes for everybody. Again, Whitecaps tied for the best record in their history at 92-39. If they do win on Thursday and tonight on Tuesday at the time of us recording this, they will go to the championship round. They'll play the winner of either Beloit or Cedar Rapids. Again, they're going to be having their own series, so the winner will then come here. And then that first game, I believe, will be at LMCU, and then they're going to have to play those final 2 games on the road. At least that's what I was told by Nate yesterday, so you might have to double check him on
Nate's
that.
the man. He knows what's going on.
Exactly,
I trust
right,
it.
right.
That does seem odd, though, right? I
was going to ask about that.
We're not going to get into this right now.
Right.
But if you have the best record in the Midwest League, you know darn well they had a better record than Beloit or Cedar Rapids, right?
Right.
So why would they not get 2 games at home? But okay,
Yeah, it is
we've
nice.
been
another thing.
No, I mean this coming Sunday could very well be the last home game for the Whitecaps the entire season. Whether they win that game or not, that's going to be the last game for them. So I guess that kind of begs the question of while we still have a little bit of time, do you think this 3-game format and how it's kind of formatted really helps the Whitecaps, because it can kind of breeze through them if it's going to be regular season Whitecaps, but again you lose 1 game and you're kind of in dire straits to have to win the last couple of games in each series.
Yeah, it definitely adds pressure. I mean, if you lose that first game, that's all you're thinking about probably. Because I mean, with how good they have been, that's the one thing kind of creep into your mind. If you do lose that first game, is, oh boy, this team's kind of had our number all year. Are they gonna come back at us again and do the same thing in the situation? So yeah, I think it definitely matters to get out to a good start and win this game. I think in the playoffs you never want to lose the first game. You don't want to lose any game, but I don't think mentally from that perspective you definitely don't want to lose the first game. So it kind of starts you off in a bad note and adds more unwanted pressure, I guess. Not that there is, I mean, probably every at bat when you go up there in these kind of situations you definitely feel a little bit more, but if they're up 1-0, I'm sure it gives them a little bit more comfort that they can go out there and play loose in game 2. So
Yeah, definitely agree. That first one is so important, right? Because you don't want that pressure on you, like Andy said. So no, and I guess having that home field advantage, I think the Whitecaps are confident enough in themselves that if they do lose on Tuesday night, that they can come back and win the next 2 to move on. So it'll be interesting. I'm hoping that LMCU is a full house on Thursday night for that first playoff game in I think 8 years. So we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, we've got just a few seconds left, guys. Real quick, Andy, do you think that they're winning this series and moving on to the next one?
I think so. How can I'm not betting against them at this point until they're actually out. That's for sure.
Right. Dean, kind of same vibe?
Same. I do think it goes 3 games.
3 games. Okay. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. Well, again, we're looking forward to it. We're going to be keeping everybody up to date on everything going on Whitecaps related. We'll see you again next time here on the Sports Frenzy Podcast.